the dying and the dead. I see the dead. There is always the dead, the dying and the dead. With my eyes wide open, I see the dying and the dead. With my eyes screwed shut, I see the dying and the dead. At every turn of my head and twist of my mind, I see the dead, the dying and the dead. At every tick and tock of every clock, and every bump of the beat of the heart in my chest, whether I walk or run, or sit and rest, with every inhale and exhale of every breath, there is always the dead, the dying and the dead. I see them, the dying and the dead. I see them all, and my soul explodes. When I see you, I see too the dying and the dead. When I talk to you, I'm talking too to the dying and the dead. When I sit down next to you, I'm sitting too with the dying and the dead. I'm all mixed up with the dying and the dead. I'm in amongst them all, and tears implode at the back of my eyes and run down my insides, a flood inside my body, and my body drowns. I am not waving, I am drowning, and I am not laughing, I am crying, and I am not smiling, I am screaming. I am here and I am there, but it does not matter where, because everywhere I am covered, smothered, buried with the dying and the dead. It's who I live with, the dying and the dead. Whatever I do and wherever I go, and however I may try and not see and not hear and not know, I know. And I know that I must know that I must be true to the truth, and I must be true to the dying and the dead. And so I see and I hear and I know the dying and the dead. I will say to everyone, do you see, do you see, do you see the dying and the dead? I know that not everyone, really, not anyone, practically no one, sees the dying and the dead. So few see any of them, even one of them, let alone the billions of them, the billions and billions of them, all of them, the dying and the dead. None of them seen, any of them, any of the dying and the dead. I see them, and I do not want to see them, not as the dying and the dead. I'd rather see them, all of them, as the living and the loving. But that is not how it is for me, and it is not how it is for them. So what I am stuck with, what they are stuck with, is me seeing them only as the dying and the dead. So what clings to me, lingers on me, crawls all over me, swarms all over me and overwhelms me is this: the onslaught of the rolling, tumbling, broken, battered bodies of the dying and the dead. Every second, every damned second, every sick and stinking dirty second I see thousands and thousands and thousands more ripped and bloodied bodies surging towards me in a torrent of violence, wave after wave of smashed heads and shattered bones and burst flesh and torn eyes and mouths, scarred and charred faces and bloated, corrupted corpses cracked and crushed in a furnace of hate, a fire of horror that flames out of control in a boiling, seething sea of agony. The acids in my stomach burn and turn in a twist and thrust of a dizzying, lurching and churning from one horror to another horror, a scream to a scream, a cry to a cry, life and death mashed in a crash of blood and bone, obliterated and dissipated in the blood-red channel that hurtles from vein to vein, vessel to vessel, in my shivered, curled-up body that squeezes itself into a ball of despair and pain, saturated and sunk in a pool of misery. It is what I see, the dying and the dead. I close my eyes, and the world murders me with its cruelty. I open my eyes, and the world kills me with its hate. But I am made born by the dying and the dead. My body is fused from the swollen mass of the dying and the dead. My throat is filled with the bloody foam that flowed out from the death shout that blew out from the mouths of all of the dying who were made dead. I am the murdered. I am the dead. I am alive with the noise and the fury, the rictus of agony, sheared from the flesh of 1,000,000,000,000 souls severed from life, life ripped out from the dying and the dead. I am the life of the dead, made to live again in a rage of resurrection, 100,000,000,000,000 bones stirring in the soil, breaking through the blooded earth, 1,000,000,000 fingers and toes and paws and hooves surging upward from the mud, reaching out for the sky and sun, reaching for light and life, reaching out not to be the dying and the dead. With every agony I see, with every sight of every horror from which I do not turn my eyes, with every howl of every pain from which I do not close my ears, with every smell of every murdered body from which I do not hold my nose, I will raise my voice in defiance of my humankind, and I will tell the dirtiest truth. And I will not spare the sensibilities of my delicate fellows, and I will not lie, and I will not lie, and I will not lie, and I will not shy from the outrage that is thrown against me for the temerity to tell the pity of the trillions slaughtered. I will annihilate the smile of those whose bodies swell with the stuffing of meat and dairy and egg and fish, a bloating that grows only with the violation of the body of my Mother Earth, a sick lust sucking life from the living, an orgy of violence. Breaking the silence, I speak the sound of billions. I see the dying and the dead, and then I speak. The dead speak when the word is told, the sound of the truth unbound, unwound from the lie that has tied the earth to a past whose time has passed. Even as I drown, crowded out by the billions of the dying and the dead, I speak the truth.